back with another YouTube video, and today we are doing some more acrylic toes. And today I'm going to show you guys how I extend the toenails without using any nail tips or forms, because as you guys can see, all of her toenails are round. Right now I'm currently pushing my client's cuticles back, and afterwards I'm going to go in with the cuticle bit and start to remove that dead skin that's in the cuticle area as well as the side walls. So we're still going to go in with the sanding band after this, so I'm not going to be using this tool for too long, but you do want to make sure that you're holding this tool flat to the nail so that it does its job. This client does have her own nail tech, but she does come to me to get her toes done, and she actually still had her acrylic toes on from the last time I did her toes. Not all of them, there was only about 2 left because as y'all can see, it's been a long time since I posted that video, so she had those on for a minute. But I'm assuming when they got old enough, she started to peel them off, and I don't recommend doing that. I never recommend ripping off your acrylics. I do let my clients know this, but sometimes they just do their own thing, and as long as it doesn't look really bad and they're not jumping when I'm working on the nail, I'll still work on it. I'll just make sure to be extra careful. The sanding band that I'm currently using is 180 grit, which is a fine grit sanding band. I'm really not going to stay on the toenails for too long. I'm not trying to remove multiple layers of the nail plate. I just need to get the shine off the first layer. After doing this, I am going to go in with a dehydrator. Y'all, this dehydrator is just alcohol, 90% alcohol. And you can use 70% alcohol too, but I believe the one in this bottle right now is 90. And after I use that, I'm going to allow it to dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to go in with my Young Nails Protein Bond, just one very thin coat. And afterwards, I'm going to go in with one more layer of my No Lift Primer. And as y'all can see, undefeated combo. For sure, babes, you gotta get into using this combo. I absolutely love it. And if I did her toes 4 months ago and they still was kind of hanging on there, this definitely works. Now for the application, I did leave this in real time so y'all can see every little step that I'm taking in order to achieve this. As y'all can see, we're not using any nail tips or forms, and I did dry my bead out pretty well before applying this acrylic powder. You don't want it to be too runny, and I am going to place it right in the center of the nail. If you pick up a bead that's too large, that's okay, because we're later going to file these down. But if you apply a thin application, you definitely won't have to worry about filing too much later on. I placed my bead. You guys can see that it is not runny. I'm using the body of my brush to kind of spread the acrylic powder around, make sure that it's as close to the cuticle as possible, as close as possible. And afterwards, I'm going to start to bring this down past the free edge. I'm going to use my cuticle pusher to start to remove the extra acrylic powder. But this is how this is done. You do not need to be putting nail tips on your toes, because if you stub your toenail, you're not going to have a toenail anymore. Now, after I'm finished wiping the acrylic down as far as possible, making sure that it's not too thin on the nail bed, I do go in with my cuticle pusher. But before I go onto the nail with the cuticle pusher, you'll want to be sure to dip it into your acrylic powder first. It makes it much easier to remove the acrylic. Afterwards, of course, you want to make sure that you clean up the side walls, remove any acrylic powder that may be touching the skin, because that will cause lifting. And then afterwards, I'll be moving on to the next toenail. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick up a bead, make sure I dry it out, and place it in the center of the toenail. Now, I do feel like more recently, acrylic toes has become way more popular. Now, before acrylic toes was making a come up, people were doing solid colors, maybe a French tip. But now people are getting all types of designs on their toes, and look, I'm here for it. Baby, I'm feeling I do some polygel on my own toes. I am supposed to be taking a trip to Savannah, Georgia in about a week. So I might take the acrylic that's off my toes right now and put some polygel on there instead. So we are going to see how that goes and how that's going to work since it's not acrylic powder. Currently, I am working on her next toenail. As y'all can see, this is still in real time. I'm making sure I'm applying pressure, and I'm also moving the acrylic powder around if needed. I need the entire nail to be covered with acrylic powder. And when you're removing the extra acrylic, you don't have to do it right where the nail bed ends. Don't do it right near the free edge because we still do have to file underneath the acrylic. You don't want to accidentally be filing her nail bed or get any of her skin that's under the nail. So you do want to extend it, remove it, and if later it's too long, then you can file it down to your liking. Since we are working with such a very small surface, don't get too discouraged if your first couple times they don't look too good. When I first was doing acrylic toes, I used to miss the sidewalls, or I would file them too much so it would be super thin, and then I would have to go back and add more acrylic powder. Just understand that it's all part of the process and there is still a learning experience here. So you do just want to make sure that you're gradually practicing, learning new skills, and watching tutorials. So for the big toenail, I am going to do this in 2 beads. As y'all can see right here, the acrylic powder was a little too dry and it flipped off my brush. So I did have to put that acrylic to the side and make sure that there was no acrylic on her toe after that mistake. There are nail techs that like to do the 1 bead method with acrylic toes, but me personally, I just like to be cautious and I prefer to do the 2 bead method just to make sure that I get the entire nail and I don't accidentally mess up, because then you'll have to go back and fix it anyway. So we're gonna start pretty much in the center of the nail plate. I am gonna start to push down on it and make sure that it is sidewall to sidewall. This is very, very important. Afterwards, I am gonna start to bring this down using the body of my brush to get it to extend past the free edge. But if I feel like I don't need to use the cuticle pusher to remove anything, I'll just do it with my brush. Right here, I only use the cuticle pusher to remove just a little bit of the product. I already felt like it was a good length and I wasn't really too sure where the nail plate started, so I really didn't want to cut too much. I am going to make sure the toenail is as square as possible before moving on, making sure I'm cleaning up those sidewalls before I go on to the 2nd bead. Babes, we do not want the acrylic powder touching the skin. One, when it grow out, it's just going to look funny and your client's going to notice. Even if you think they don't notice, they will. And like I keep saying, we don't want any lifting whatsoever. Now we're going to be going in with that cuticle bead. As y'all can see, I have placed it right above where I placed the 1st bead, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I do kind of push the acrylic powder to the skin sometimes just to make sure that all the product gets there, but afterwards I do make sure that I go back and clean up the skin. I really only purposely flood the cuticle area if I don't feel like I'm going to be able to get all of the acrylic there in time, or I just know that I'm not going to be able to accomplish doing that flawless application with the bead that I picked up, and this was one of those situations. After I was done being a perfectionist, I just like to file these nails. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is reshape the nails. Now, you want to make sure that you season these sanding bands before you use them, because you will accidentally cut your client. I've done it before, and it is not a good feeling for you or your client. And what I mean by season your files is take another hand file and rub across the edge of the file that you're going to use. This way, that hard grit of the 80 or the 100 grit file is not on your client's skin. Right now, I'm currently just reshaping all of the toenails. Once I'm finished with this, I am going to go in with my carbine bit from Pana. It is a tapered bit in a medium grit. I do get this from Amazon. I love this bit. It will be in the description box. Y'all get this. And I'm going to do that, like I said, once I'm finished reshaping the nails. So right now, I'm just making sure that the toenails are straight at the bottom and that the sidewalls are as clean as possible. Right here, I did want to just get a little zoom in for y'all because as y'all can see, that application was a little thick. So that nail is looking huge, but like I said, it's no worries because we are going to file that all the way down. I am not going to be leaving my client looking like that. When I'm filing the acrylic toenails, I really don't stay on each toenail for too long if the application was thin. Like for this first toenail, it's really not that thick. So I'm not going to consistently file this. What I am going to do is make sure that underneath the toenail is not connected to the skin. So I am going to also go underneath the toenail. And when I'm doing that, I do turn the bit down just a little bit. Don't want to be moving too fast going on the skin. Very quickly, I did want to go back to a few of the toenails and make sure that my application was as thin as possible. And I did go back in with my 80/80 grit hand file and start to reshape the nails. Even though I already shaped them, I still want to make sure that they are as straight as possible. When I did go underneath the toenail to make sure that that is as thin as possible. And I'm going to make sure that I seal the cuticle really, really good. So there is no safety on this bit. So you do want to make sure that you're being extremely careful. You guys can see how close I'm getting to the skin without cutting my client. So right now the filing and application part is finished. For the big toenail on this foot, I did have to add a little bit of acrylic because I did kind of over file in the cuticle area, so that's why that still looks wet. But right now we are about to start drawing these French tips. Now my client did let me freestyle. She told me she wanted red, but of course I had to add a little something extra. For the French tips on the toes, I do like to start from the corners and then start to bring my brush around to the center. I am going to do this to both sides. And I'm going to do this as many times as I need to. French tip is not the easiest, but we do want to try to get this as perfect as possible, girl. I too make mistakes. I was not feeling how that last French tip came out, so I did decide to go ahead and repaint it because I really did not like that one. And I am going to flash cure it before I move on and draw the hand painted French tips on the other fingers. The red gel polish that I'm using here is actually a liner gel that I got from Amazon. It did come in a pack. There was a bunch of different colors in there, and I told you guys that that gel polish is extremely pigmented. So honestly, after one coat, if not needed, I'm not gonna go over the French tip again, but this is honestly only for the toes. Now on nails, you'll definitely have to do 2 coats for the most part. You'll wanna make sure you do that. When I was finished allowing the nail to fully cure all of them, I did start to add some gems. Now I got these cute little flower charms from Amazon, And I wanted to place the red flower charms with some red stones on the white toes. Now for the red toes at the moment, I really wasn't too sure what I was gonna do, but babes, look. I was letting my client know, just trust me, I'm gonna figure out something to do on the other ones because at the moment this is a freestyle just straight off the top of my head. So I did want to add some little rhinestones to the flowers too, and I was going to add another flower on the other white French tip, but I did decide to just do the regular rhinestones with red. And I am using my Azulé bling glue. You guys keep asking me what glue I like to use. If I'm not using the Macart Diamond Gel, I am definitely using the Azulé bling glue. Now, for charms that stick out certain types of way, you definitely want to use the Macart Diamond Gel just because it's much thicker. If you have to, you can go around the diamond gel with the Azulé bling glue just to make sure that it stays. But the Azulé bling glue alone will make sure that your flat back stay on there pretty good. I've currently had my toes on for about 2, almost 3 weeks now, and I do have all of my rhinestones on except for like 2 on my pinky toe because I stubbed it. But besides that, y'all, this Azulé bling glue is the truth. For the other toenails, I did want to just keep it simple, and I just placed one redstone on the top, and for the big toe, I did add one more flower. I did add one more flower to the nail, and I'm a top coat them. I do top coat the flowers too. I try not to top coat the rhinestones. I really don't like the look it gives. It looks nasty to me. So I do try to go around it, but if by mistake the top coat does touch the rhinestone, it is fine. So after I finish top coating the nails, I am going to allow them to dry for 60 to 120 seconds. And afterwards, I'm going to oil up her feet and show you guys the final look. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about these. I absolutely love these. I've been loving the acrylic toe videos. And if you're interested in learning how to do more acrylic toes and perfecting your craft, girl, I have the perfect playlist for you where I have multiple acrylic toe videos, and that will be down in the description box below if you are interested. I do deeply appreciate you for sitting with me today, learning how to do these toes. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe.